Please welcome to the stage, Sandie Duggan.
Before I start, can I just say how grateful I am to be here today? What an opportunity and how humbling that it is. And when I was given this opportunity, I thought to myself, what have I got to share? What have I got that has been valuable to me and has taught me something in my life? And so I thought I'd come today and just show up just as I am. And what I decided to talk about, and I believe this is honestly something that every single one of us has experienced in our lives, and that's bullying. And I want to ask you all a question here today. Who's the biggest bully in your life? Who is somebody that you can remember that's brought you down, they've made you question yourself, they've made you feel less than worthy, and they've crushed your hopes, your dreams, your desires? And I'm sure we've all had a few, and I am no different. But it got me to thinking, where did that come from? Because I know for a fact that I wasn't born that way. When I was a little girl, when I was a baby, when I was learning to walk, I was full of resilience, full of self-belief. There wasn't one person that could have told me when I fell down on my bum for the 50th time that I was not going to walk. That was not going to happen. I would have said, get out of my way, I'm coming on through. And every single one of you here today has learned how to walk without question. It's just what we do. Also, I remember a time, I must have been about 6 years old, and I was just watching the TV on a Saturday morning, having the time of my life. On came Shirley Temple with her boingy curls, singing away, my boy lollipop, do 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 do. And I remember being absolutely mesmerised. And I thought to myself, that's the job for me. I wanted to be that little girl singing a little heart out to the world and just having fun. What's not to love? And there wasn't one part of me that thought that wasn't achievable. What were your dreams when you were little? And I'm going to ask you now, what the hell happened? I want to take you back now to a time too many years to remember. I'll leave you guessing on that one. And for me, what happened was school. I was thrown into the lion's den. And this was honestly the first time in my life where I had experienced comparison, judgment, not feeling like I was enough and not fitting in. That playground could be bloody brutal. And I started to listen to other people. I started to realise that they would question me and my opinion. Somewhere along the line, I lost myself. And this carried on. And I met my first biggest bully when I would have been about 11, 12 years old. And it was that awkward time anyway. I like to call it growing pains, for obvious reasons. Lumps, bumps, hormones in all the wrong places. And it's pretty uncomfortable. And I met a girl. And she was my biggest bully. Yet ironically, I called her my best friend. She was everything I wasn't. She was tall, she was blonde, she had big brown eyes, and she was super confident. She was almost like a people magnet. She seemed to have this secret that I'd lost somewhere along the way, and I thought she was the bee's knees. And for a while we had a great time, doing what teenage girls do in their bedrooms, singing into the hairbrushes, setting the world to rights, just having a general giggle. Until we got into public. And she would call, see, I was everything she wasn't. I was short, I had brown hair, I was a little bit chubby, and I had no self-confidence. So when we were in public, she'd call me things like tubster and chubster. And she'd take the mick out of an outfit that she'd helped me choose out of the wardrobe only half an hour before, and it crushed me. I couldn't understand it. You remember a time in your life where somebody has humiliated you, made you feel like you're not enough, like you're a laughingstock, and you're just not worthy. And all I wanted to do in that moment was to crawl under a rock and to disappear, not be there. It was an awful feeling. Now you might think that I kicked her to the curb and told her to do one, but actually it took me a long time to get to that place. If I could sum up for you the last 30 years of my life and how it affected me, I want to ask you a question now, which is a question I had to ask myself, because actually there's a bigger bully at play for all of us. I want to introduce you to that biggest bully, and she's standing right here before you today, and she's called Sandie Duggan. Because what I actually began to realise is that I had beaten myself up for so many years. I had told myself I wasn't worthy, I wasn't enough. I had listened to everybody else apart from myself, and I'd started to believe and play on repeat in my mind all those things people had told me about myself that weren't my truth. I like to now call a negative Nora, a little character that's there with me 24/7 all the time. And she always wants to put me back in that box when I dare to step out, or I dare to tell myself I can do something, or I dare to try and be brave. How many times a day is your negative Nora nagging at you? Well, my life got to the point where it almost felt like some kind of mad supermarket sweep around the aisles of life. There I was with my bag of life, and I was frantically searching, ticking off all the lists, collecting all those things that everybody told me I needed. That I needed to be enough, that I needed to be worthy, that I needed to be pleasing to everybody, so that I was liked, I was loved, and they listened to me. And you name it, I tried it. I like to call them polyfillers now. And I had that many polyfillers, more polyfillers than any professional decorator. I should have had shares. I missed out on a trick there. And the list was huge. I tried exam results, I tried relationships, I tried cars, houses, being a mum, being a wife, stuff for the houses, stuff for the dogs, stuff for the cats, stuff for me, stuff for the kids. And yet still, there was this huge void inside of me, and I could not work it out. And I felt anything but fabulous. In fact, I felt like the biggest fuck up going. And inside, my heart was breaking. Theodore Roosevelt had a wonderful quote, and it says, if you could kick the person in the butt that has caused you the most trouble, you wouldn't sit down for a month. How many of us give ourselves a kicking every single day? And where does that take us? I want to take you now to my lowest point ever in my life. And it would have been about 2.5 years ago, actually. And you would find me on a cold winter night, upstairs, freezing to my core, bent over a suitcase on the carpet, frantically throwing things into a case, tears strolling down my face. And my son, my middle boy, Jamie, who's 19, was there beside me. And he was trying to calm me down, with tears streaming down his face as well. Now you might be thinking, well, where the hell was she going? Was she had enough? Was she running away? And trust me, I'd thought about it many times, but I knew I'd take me with me. Actually, I wasn't going on holiday. I was going into rehab. Because what I didn't tell you was one of those polyfillers that I used was drugs. I had been a functioning opiate addict for 20 years. And by functioning, I mean it was a secret. Nobody knew. I'd carried it and it was heavy. And those drugs, somehow I told myself, were helping me to get through the day. They were helping me to plaster a big smile on my face and tell myself that everything was fine with a capital F. And yet it wasn't fine. Inside, my heart was breaking because I felt like I'd lost me. And I got to the point where if this was all life was, if this was it, then I didn't care anymore if I didn't wake up the next day. In fact, it would have been a relief because the pain of staying the same had got so great. And I'm not telling you this because it's a victim story or I want any kind of sympathy. In fact, it's anything but that. Because actually what that night gave me was the gift of desperation. I had hit my lowest point. But there was something in me, something that said, don't you dare, girl. Don't you dare. You're worth this. You know you're worth it. dig deep. There's a little ember in there, and that's all it takes. You keep going. You get up, and I decided there and then that if I was going to go down, I was going to go down fighting. Because somehow, no matter what anyone else said or what anyone else felt or what I might lose, I knew I was worth fighting for. And in that moment, I decided, come on, it's time. And so that's exactly what I did. I went shaking, frightened to death, terrified, lost, but I went. So that brings me to here and to now. And what I want to share with you is that fear can mean one of two things. It can mean forget everything and run, which is what I'd been doing for so long. Or it can mean face everything and rise. And I decided the only way I wanted to go now was up. And I believe every single one of you in here today will have been faced with this challenge, where you're terrified to your core, you've kind of lost direction, you're forgetting who you are, where you want to go, and you think it's impossible. That mountain seems too huge to climb, and I know because I was there. But actually, I also know that within you, you have exactly what it takes. We spend so long looking outside of us, listening to those bullies, listening to our own bully, that we forget. But it's still there, we just get a little bit lost. We're a little bit like that little bird sat on a branch, looking at all the other birds above us, soaring and flying high. And we yearn to be there. And we're just sat there, lonely and lost, and thinking, what are we missing? And yet sometimes you just have to be brave enough to jump, because actually you were born with those wings. They were always there. You just forgot. And there comes a time where it's time to remember and to jump even before you're ready. Because everything you desire is on the opposite side of fear. And so I challenge each and every one of you today to dig deep, to get that key out of your pocket called brave. And it might be a bit dusty and a bit rusty and need a bit of WD-40, because mine certainly did. But the one thing I can share with you is that that is the only key that will fit your lock. Nobody else has what you're searching for. You have it within you. And maybe this is your time to shine, to stop hiding behind that wall that you've built for yourself, to try to protect yourself from everybody else. You don't need that wall anymore. It's time to step through to the other side and break it down, because you deserve to be here. You have a place, you have a voice, you have a heart. And while that heart's pumping, all those ups and downs, it means you're alive. I'd felt too dead for too long. And so I decided to turn my key, and I challenge every single one of you today to step forward into your life, nobody else's. Turn that key, and I'll see you on the other side. Thank you.